I'm going to be your new favorite YouTuber. I am Inupiaq, sort of introduction to me. I like to play music, tuning forks, which is my new hyperfixation. Well, I hope this is still recording. This is a sweater that I designed, language map, and then it has the languages. Uvlulotak, Uvanga Nari. Good afternoon, my name is Nari, and I'm going to be your new favorite YouTuber. Maybe. It depends on what you like. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video, are the things that I have interest in and want to make content around, whether it's my journey, educational pieces, or whatever is the topic for the day. So I think I'm going to add some words on the screen that give you an idea of the different topics that I'm going to cover in this video as a sort of introduction to me and what I like to talk about and what I want to talk about. First, my name is actually Nariaq, which is an Inupiaq word for flower, but I go by Nari because it's easier for most people to say. I am Inupiaq. Inupiaq is a more specific kind of Inuit. Inuit goes across Greenland, Canada, Alaska, and Inupiaq is specific to the Arctic in Alaska, and that is what I am. The people are the Inupiat with a T, the person is an Inupiaq, or the language is Inupiaq with a Q. I was born in Inupiaq, Alaska, previously called Barrow, but they changed the name, and grew up between Inupiaq, Nuiqsut, and Fairbanks, Alaska, and I currently live on the Dena'ina lands here in Eagle River, Alaska. That's my dog, if you can see her behind me. Probably not. I have a wide variety of interests, and one of them, more recently, over the last few years, has been creating videos. So I decided to start a YouTube channel. I also like to sing and play guitar. I don't know if you can see the guitars on the wall. Got a piano over there. I write music. I like to play music. I have several instruments strung throughout the house. I've combined those two interests and made a couple of music videos. High school felt misunderstood. Went to stay with you, Inupiaq Mew. To crop, you know I love you. I'm a long way from home. Some topics that I find incredibly fascinating and like to talk about are healing and spirituality. If you're in the realm of law of attraction or manifesting or healing through sound or tuning forks, which is my new hyperfixation, I plan to make videos about those. I have trained in doing past life regressions, the QHHT method. Those are some pretty cool stories. I will say it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of time, but it's been really interesting, the people who have been willing to go on that journey with me. I really like psychology stuff. I think that you can tell a lot about a person by the words that they used. For example, I was on a hyperfixation about this and body language for a while. It was Janine Driver and James Pennebaker. James Pennebaker is a linguist, professor at a university. And one of the things that I find most interesting about his teachings, and you can watch YouTube, it's funny, I researched him for a hot minute years actually, before I found his YouTube video. And his YouTube video explains all the things that I found most interesting about his work. But one of the things that he gave as an example, he says that people will say exactly what they mean, whether they're lying to you or not. And he did this by looking through the transcripts of court cases that, years later, they had either been proven innocent or proven guilty by whatever measure he implemented, I don't know. But the example that he gave, and I'll ask you, which sentence sounds more true? I know you think I'm lying to you, but I'm not. Or, regardless of what you think, I'm not lying to you. So, not how I delivered the message, like my tone of voice, but the words specifically. The first one, you can literally pull out the phrase from within the whole sentence. You can pull out the phrase, I'm lying to you. I know you think I'm lying to you, but I'm not. So you can pull out the phrase "I'm lying to you" from within the sentence, and then the second one cannot pull the not out of the middle of the sentence, regardless of what you think. I'm not lying to you. So you can't pull out a truth that contradicts what the person is actually saying. I don't know how well I explained that, but it's incredibly interesting. Psychology, language, body language, I find those things very fascinating. Going back to the tuning forks, recently I have been watching Eileen McKusick. She has been doing energy work and tuning. What she says is the most important piece of a tuning fork is it has to be coherent. And when you move it throughout a field, so we each have our own energy field, you can hear distortions in certain areas. And based off of where that distortion is and what the distortion sounds like, whether it's muted, sharp, pulsating, can indicate, one, an age, two, the type of trauma or energy density based off of where it is in your energy field. Incredibly interesting. I just got those, so I'm in the middle of that learning curve right now. I also work in environmental justice, social justice, cultural revitalization. I run an organization called Sovereign Inupiaq for a Living Arctic, or Silva. In Inupiaq, Silva means the weather, or more deeply, the breath of life, which I think is beautiful. I didn't come up with it. The previous executive director and co-founder did. I really do enjoy the work. I enjoy it. Is very fulfilling. And I've made a couple of videos kind of touching on some of the things that I do with that. And I also make videos for the work that I do because I love that piece. Some of the other pieces are more challenging, and a video that I'd like to make is talking about our people's experience through first contact, land rights, and what's happening on our lands right now. I am a recovering alcoholic. I have made a video about that journey. This is also a piece that is really relevant and prevalent within Indigenous communities and within my community, and definitely within my family. I experienced a lot of exposure to addiction and alcoholism and dysfunctional processing when I was younger. I really, really, really didn't want to become an alcoholic. And yet during COVID, I developed alcoholism in a real bad way. It was fast. And I talk about that story a little bit. So I'm doing all of this currently in recovery. I also identify as having ADHD and autistic tendencies. I have not been diagnosed in either of those areas, but I resonate and relate to so many of the symptoms. I like to draw and create designs. I designed this shirt, which isn't one of my favorite. I'm going to show you my favorite. Hold on a second. Well, I hope this is still recording. Anyways, this is a sweater that I designed. And it has a map of Alaska. It's a language map. And then it has the languages surrounding it. I think I've put it on a shirt maybe too. I'm not 100%. Let's see. My spirituality is something else, which is kind of covered when we talk about the law of attraction and manifesting, but in a different sense or more expanded sense. I definitely believe in the afterlife, in reincarnation. I really ascribe to what Dolores Cannon has described throughout many of her books, and Michael Newton. Both of them are past life regressionists. Michael Newton grew up as an atheist. He did not believe in a higher power. He thought when we died, we died, and he became a hypnotherapist for, I think, smoking cessation and habit adjustments, things like that, and then ended up stumbling across past lives, or what he called the in-between, which is where we kind of meet up with our soul family and decide what we want to accomplish in our next incarnation. There are others as well, past life regressionists, that have written books and shared stories, but those are the two that I've really gotten a lot out of reading their material. Dolores Cannon especially has done a lot of talks, and there's a lot of YouTube videos, and also has a QHHT training, which is training others how to do past life regression hypnotherapy. I think there's something to healing with light therapy. I have a red light right here that I use for, you can look at red light therapy. That's becoming very popular. I think how they discovered that red light was good for the skin, I think they're preparing to go to outer space so that they could have plants and grow plant materials up there. And through this program, those who had their hands under the red light for extended periods of time showed significant improvement in their skin in various ways, whether that was texture, scarring, some other things. It's been a while, so I don't remember the exact details of it, but basically it benefit, I think, is with ATP, and ATP within the mitochondria is like what creates the energy. And as we all know, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It's still funny. Laugh with me. Self-help, self-improvement. We've definitely gone down the rabbit hole in some of those things. I really do feel like, I guess I'll lump it back into the law of attraction or manifesting ideology. But when I say that I came across, okay, let me start over. One of the techniques for manifesting is visualization. And when I first came across this method to manifest, which is the term that I will use now, it was through a book called The Silva Method, the Silva Mind Control Method. And now I'm forgetting the author's name. It's something Silva. I forget his first name. But he explained visualization as a way to connect with and communicate with your subconscious mind. And he explained that our subconscious makes decisions before our conscious has even halfway decided. We think we're making a decision based off of the justification, but that's generally not the case. So he explains it as visualization as a way to sort of get our subconscious mind moving in the direction of our goals. So he was very much explaining it through a psychological, subconscious, mental, brain activity, neural network kind of angle. Whereas later on, I came to really resonate with the energetic field of it that is more ascribed to the law of attraction world. In a nutshell, those are the major categories. I always feel like I'm forgetting something. I think I'm entertaining. And I think if you spend enough time with me, if you like my personality, then you'll fall in love with me. Sounds silly to say that out loud. I'm a very lovable person. Familiar or you don't know anybody who's Indigenous, you might find it interesting. The Inuit, I eat whale. Are people whale? It's, kind of a process for which villages get however many shots or whales, because it was taken away for a while. There was a fear that whales were being over-consumed, over-hunted. They thought that they were far lower in numbers than they actually were. And the story is actually really interesting, and I wish I could find the book to reference this assertion that I'm about to make. But at some point, they outlawed whaling because they thought there was only like 5,000 or 6,000 whales left. And the Inuit, our people, said, no, there's at least 60 or 70,000. But they weren't believed until decades later. We almost completely lost the practice. And once the scientists figured out that the Inuit were right, that the indigenous people who rely on it for our livelihood were correct, then there was like a sort of allotment now. So there's a limit to how many whales you can get. There's bowhead whale, which is what I mostly eat. And then there's also beluga whaling that happens, and that's delicious. I just wasn't exposed to it as much when I was younger, and it's so good. The parkas and caribou and seals and fish. The language, I am not fluent. I know everyday words that are from like when I was a kid in Inupiaq. Muck duck is bowhead whale. I'll insert a picture of what that looks like. We also eat frozen meat, which I think if you've never heard of that before, that sounds intimidating or maybe even gross. And I say gross simply because I'll tell you the story. So we eat frozen raw meat, whether that's caribou, fish, or whale meat, or others even. But those are the main ones that I eat a lot of. Somebody that I'm close with at one point was craving quack, which is what it's called. You can call it fish quack or tutu quack. The quack is just frozen meat. And they were craving it so much that they just pulled a steak out of the freezer. I was pretty grossed out. I was like, that's disgusting. It's they argued it's the same thing, frozen raw meat. I think it being a cow and processed differently and having hormones injected into them, probably, you just don't know where it's been. I viewed it as very much different. They were fine. They didn't get sick. They did eat it. Yeah, so that's where I can kind of, I grew up with it, so I don't see it as gross, but I can, like, when I think about it from a steak perspective, a cow perspective, it does seem kind of gross, but it's a staple in our diet. Maybe I'll just make that a short video. Yeah, those are the things that I'd like to make videos about. What do you call it when you, I guess it's a script. It's not a script. It's like bullet points of like what I want to cover for different videos. So I have a bunch of those kind of ready to go. I just haven't yet taken the time to make all of them because it can be time consuming, and I work and I have kids, and I'm a recovering alcoholic and I feel like I'm just coming out of the depression. Maybe not just, but I do still feel like I haven't fully recovered. I don't have my full energy. I'm sure my dog's barking is driving you crazy. I'm going to end the video there. Thank you very much, Inupiaq, for watching, and hope to see you again.